Sup guys, it's the one from the future here. In this video, I'm joined by fellow gacha creator Gail Wright. So we sat down and had a discussion about the state of the game in Danmachi Battle Chronicles. The original recording, I lost about 15 minutes of the start of our discussion. So I had to redo and remake this intro. Let me know down below what you guys think of our discussion. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know your thoughts down below. So yeah, without further ado, the one out.
Welcome to the pinnacle of gacha gaming on YouTube.
Before we get into that, we're gonna talk about the obviously the 10 UR gacha ticket thing. Man, that's another thing why I know a lot of people quit the game. It's because, you know, people were like, yeah, once they saw the leaks or whatever, they're like, oh, I can't wait for this. Oh my god, this game is sick, so free to play friendly, da 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 da. And then as days got closer, you know, people started to become a bit nervous, like, I don't know, it's too good to be true.
And guaranteed UR adventure ticket. I mean, the way it says, it should be that, but like, I mean, even I was in that video saying like, I'm not sure about this one because it says it, but like, I don't want to believe it because that would have been a bit too much, even for anybody to believe, to be quite honest. And I mean, the fact that some people believed it was obviously, I can't really blame them for it, of course, right? You know, it says it on the can, it should be what it is on the can, right? It should be inside whatever it is, it should be what's on the can, right? But like, I said this, like, no gacha game has ever give, unless it's an idle gacha game, I don't think any gacha game has ever given out that sort of a multi where you basically get all UR guaranteed, and especially specifically either UR adventures, assists, or Cs, or whatever it may be, scene cards, or whatever, right? It would be very surprising to me if it was actually what it is. And of course, turns out it was too good to be true anyways, right? But still, I think a lot of this issue would have just been non-existent if, one, they actually looked at the community, which I don't think they do, funnily enough. I say funnily enough, not surprisingly, I don't think they look at the community that well, or they care more about the JP community, which is, of course, standard when you look at the gacha gaming community. That's nothing new. I think people need to also realize that as well, is this is not Genshin. This is not a gacha game where the global community matters as much. When you look at a majority of gacha games, I would say 85-90% of gacha games, they don't care about the global community. We're just an extra source of revenue for them, realistically. And arguably, if they cut us off, to be quite honest, it wouldn't change their profit margin that much, to be quite honest. It'll lower a little bit, but they'll still have a very high profit margin thanks to Japanese players, right? Yeah. Now, coming back to the point I was making with the 10 UR guarantee ticket, I data mined it and everything, and I'm like, people need to be a little bit more realistic with this. Let's wait and see. What didn't help, in my personal opinion, more so than anything else, I think if it was just still the image of the ticket in the beginner's welcome mission and everything with one UR adventure, which was like, you don't do that. And I did was I immediately went and checked the JP Twitter to see what they said, and the JP Twitter said at least more than one or guarantees at least one UR adventure. That's two very, very different connotations, right? The English Twitter says guarantees more than one adventure or UR adventure. JP Twitter says guarantees at least one UR adventure, which is true. That the JP Twitter one was the right one. So again, it's a question of whoever's translating in their team is doing it completely wrong. And this is what I was a bit worried about before the launch of the game, was Aiming Inc. is doing the publishing, which means they're taking care of the translations, right? Yeah. That was already a bit of a red flag for me when KLab decided to give over the publishing rights. Of course, Aiming Inc. was the main people that were contracted from the get-go, which is a problem in itself. I'm surprised that nobody in the Danmachi production team, you know, looked into them a little bit more, especially after how good of a job WFS has done with Danmachi Memoria Freeze, right? I'm surprised that they decided to go so nonchalantly with Aiming Inc. But Aiming Inc. were supposed to be the developers and KLab were supposed to be the publishers. The thing is, KLab has already had such good experience with, you know, publishing and making Bleach Brave Souls. Issues aside for that game, there's never really been too much of an issue with translations or anything of that sort. The promotion has been good and everything's been well done, right?
Yeah.
You can tell that was shifting from them to Aiming Inc., who's obviously this is their first ever globally published game as well, because Eminence is of course via Crunchyroll, which Crunchyroll is another mess entirely. Let's not get into that. At least we don't have Crunchyroll. That's a good thing. But still, nonetheless, the first time you're publishing, you're gonna have issues. Why not? You're still taking help from KLab developing the game. Why not take help from them in publishing the game? Still maintain that sort of like half and half publishing role. Take help from them with the translation side of things. You still work with them for the development of the game. So why not do more of that? Like, I don't get it. It's been so like they've tried something, but you can tell that they're way out of their depth, it seems like, as well, when it comes to all of this sort of stuff, because you're making very stupid mistakes like this, basically, wherein these translations issues shouldn't be happening in 2023 at all. They should not be happening in any gacha game. Again, it comes back to that point of sheer incompetence. This should not be happening at all.
Yeah, and for me, with the whole 10 UR gacha thing, I obviously I get the translation errors and stuff like that, but why? How come, right? That in the image of the 10 UR gacha ticket, why does it show more? Because you know the UR gacha tickets that we receive, obviously, like for the 30-day, 1 month anniversary or whatever, it literally shows 3 in the 10 UR guaranteed characters. It's like so was it a mistranslation, or like, why is the image like that? Why wasn't it just 1?
Yeah, that's
guaranteed?
Also another thing as well. Yeah, that's another thing as well, because like, whenever they write it, it's right, but then if you look at the imagery, it's wrong. It's showing 3 UR tickets, so it's a bit weird in that regards. Again, it's hard to say how they could have done it, because again, they want to show that, it's 10 tickets, but it's not 10 rainbow tickets. So I guess what they could have done is have 1 rainbow ticket and let the rest be like gold tickets, maybe, right? So that way at least people would have been more understanding of it and be able to realize what it is. But I think they were just like, we want to show it's a multi and go from there. Again, a little bit of incompetence, because the thing is, some people were telling me it's greed, but it's not greed, because they're not telling you to pay for it. If they said like, buy for this, will you get to the end of the missions, now you have to pay $10 to buy this ticket. No, that's not what it is, right? It's not greed. It's just, again, I think it's just a level of incompetence, as well as a little bit of shadiness as well involved with that imagery, where they're trying to potentially mislead people. But again, it's at the end of it all, like, and especially once people find out, it would have led to issues anyway. So again, I don't think it's necessarily that much shadiness, because it wouldn't make any sense, right? Because that mission tab isn't shown until you get to that 6th tab, which is literally like 21 days into the missions.
Like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, so you're not going to notice it until 21 days in, right? So again, if you wanted to leave by then, you would have left already. And if somebody else told you about the tickets, well, they would have also told you about it being not a 10 UR guaranteed adventure ticket, which, I mean, unless you were being trolled by somebody, which that would be very tough. But like I said, it doesn't make sense, because I mean, there's no level of shadiness involved, because you're gonna find out about it somewhere or another, right? Or you're not gonna find out about it at all, because it's so deep in, right? So for me, like I said, I don't think there's a level of greed or that much shadiness involved. I just think it's dumb. It's just incompetence. They don't know what they're doing half the time. It feels like they just don't know what they're doing. It's just that's just what it comes down to, I feel.
So we're pretty much a month into the game right now. So like out of 10, and be completely like, you can give your thoughts and stuff, but out of 10, what would be your review of the game so far after a month in?
I would say it's probably a 4 or 5.
Okay.
Just average. I think it's average. I don't think it's the worst thing out there. Honestly, I've seen much worse when it comes to gacha games. People don't realize that we aren't that bad off. That being said, because I do feel like the fundamentals of the game, right? The fundamentals, the core of the game is there. a lot of people may argue against me on that one, but that's just how I feel. I think it's all there. Everything is there for them to do a good job. It's just that the execution has been poor. It's just been simply incompetence plus a little bit of greediness, arguably, and it's just been very poorly executed, the whole thing, basically. Because I do believe that like, for example, the presentation, I really like it. I do think that the way they set up especially with the summer event, again, something that a lot of people asked for when the game first came out. I remember in my comments and in my live streams, they would say that, oh, are we gonna get more varied maps, like, instead of the dungeon again and again? And of course, while they haven't done that for Magic Stone Scramble, which is something that they should definitely do,
100%.
it'll at least breathe a fresh of air into that game mode. But like the summer event, the resort, the volleyball court, and everything, the music, it's a great addition, and they need to do more of that. So the presentation has been decent. The story has been solid. I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking, especially coming in from Danmimo. It's definitely not to the same level of quality, I would say, but it's there, and it's supervised by Amori Sensei, so there's something there, of course, right? And generally, some of the quality of life stuff, the infinite skips and so on and so forth, the stamina refills are relatively decent. It's just that the execution of the rest of the game is just poor, and it's just not good enough in a modern era. So for me, I would just say probably a maximum of 5, probably a 4 at most, in all honesty.
Me personally, I'd probably give it somewhere around where you probably gave it. It's definitely not above 5.
Agreed.
Because obviously, number one, like, thing is, people said it in the comments of my video I made about the state of the game. People said that they only played this game because of the IP. So
I mean, arguably, I would say the same. Like, my channel is a Danmachi channel. It's not a Danmachi Battle Chronicle channel necessarily. I cover everything Danmachi related. If this game wasn't Danmachi, I probably have dropped it like probably a weekend, to be quite honest.
And me personally, on my channel, I cover anime gacha games. So if this game was like, I don't know, not an anime, it was like, I don't know, like real, or just like maybe some random fantasy, like real life-esque kind of people, I wouldn't touch this game. So so the game for me doesn't get over 5, and then I have to now think, okay, so the gameplay wise, the stamina refreshes is an issue. Yes, they do give some potato poppers here and there, but realistically it is an issue. And for example, you need to refresh stages for whether it's your battle items to sell those, or whether it's XL faunas. And I'll even get into another topic later about the XL faunas, like why it's once a day, and even if it's gotta be once a day, like bring more levels to the XL faunas, because it's at this point, one XL fauna isn't gonna do anything for me at this point. So then you have to look at, so stamina refreshes is an issue. Then you have to look at the currency gain, the currency system, how many summons you're able to do, because at the end of the day, at the core, it's a gacha game, and people play gacha games. The most fun part of the gacha game is not the gameplay, it is the summons. That is
we're gambling addicts at the end of the day.
Exactly. That is literally the thing that brings us to these games. And the fact that you have, I don't like games, right? Obviously I spend money for videos or whatever, but I don't like games where they're very stingy with resources, or you gotta save like 2 months, for some unit later down the road. Like, the saving grace for me is that at least the JP or Korean, or I don't know if there's a Korean version, but the JP version isn't like 5 months ahead, because what that does is it gives like a wide sense of I don't know if you played, what game was it? Tower Fantasy, right? I played Tower Fantasy for a bit, and the I don't know how long the game was out in. I think it was it China? No, Korea. I think it was Korea. The game was out for a couple months there, so they're like 3 or 4 months ahead, and people knew from day one. They're like, oh, save for this unit. Like, wait for 5 months for this unit. This unit's game breaking. So people are just there hoarding because.
That happens. I mean, I play FGO as well, and I mean, we're 2 years behind, so we know that if you talk about hoarding, we know how to save. Like, it's crazy. But I mean, for me, I don't think that's necessarily an issue. I agree with what you're saying, but yeah, I feel like also what it helps with as well is like you get an idea of exactly what's going to come in terms of like quality of life stuff and whatnot as well, right? Because usually whenever these games are that far behind, you also get the quality of life stuff later as well. So I think that's also a factor as well. But I agree with what you're saying there. Like, you don't want to wait necessarily for the hype stuff to come, because I mean, if somebody else is already playing with it, why not play with them instead, right? You could just download that version of the game instead, you know?
Yeah, and something that we haven't spoken about yet was the I think he's talked about hitting pity and how many summons that take, but thing is, right, the pity system in this game is absolutely it's easily the worst pity system I've ever seen in any gacha game.
I think the problem with the pity system isn't the amount you need in terms of like, when I say amount you need in terms of like the multi amount, it's just the cost, and also our income is too poor for it. Because if you look at some other gacha games, right, like Grand Blue Fantasy, Precone, whatever, they're also like 30 multis to 35 multis, 25 multis, 20 multis, whatever it is. They're usually around that mark. The problem is in those games, income is like, it's like water effectively. You get it every single day. There's so much of it. So there's no real issue there, because you're gonna get it. You're gonna be able to hit pity regularly without any issues whatsoever, right? The problem is with this game is you've copied the system, but you haven't copied the income of that game. So it becomes a bigger problem. The problem is exacerbated because you just don't have the same level of income as what you need in order to hit pity. So that becomes the bigger problem in my personal opinion, because a lot of what these Japanese gacha games do is they copy that Spark system that Grand Blue Fantasy originated way back when it originally launched, of course, with that 30 multi, and you can basically pick up the unit you want effectively. But some of these, or most of these, I feel gacha games that copy that system just don't copy the income. They're like, oh, it makes money. Surely if we just put that system in, it'll make us money as well. But they don't realize that people are more willing to spend on those games because the income is so good in those games. So they're like, oh, I can spend a little bit of money to support the company, you know, because I can get a little bit more out of it. I'm getting rewarded for playing the game. So yeah, that is the biggest problem in my personal opinion with this game, is that and not only just this game, a lot of other Japanese gacha games as well, is that they don't realize what made that system work in Grand Blue Fantasy or Princess Connect.
And if the worst possible thing that could happen is you go into a banner and you don't actually hit the pity, because if you don't hit the pity, what they do with your pulls, man, it's so bad.
The result medals is horrible.
Oh my god, like I think I did about 100 summons, so I had about 100 about 100 from Haruhime and Ice. And I went into the silver ticket banner, and I could only barely buy one single regular gacha ticket. From 100 summons. I don't even know what that is. 100 summons. That's like
10 multis. That's about 28,000 CLS.
Yeah, for 28,000 CLS, I got one singular gacha ticket.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, I agree with that. I think that needs to be updated as well, to be honest. I think it just needs to be converted into gold tickets, to be quite honest. I don't know why the silver thing is even existing, to be honest.
So how long do you see this game lasting, bro? Be real here. How long do you see it lasting?
It depends on the next Danmachi gacha game, IMO. Because the thing is, right, I don't see them going back to Danmimo. Now that they've officially confirmed effectively there's no new stories coming out in Danmimo, they're just releasing new units here and there. I think Danmimo is gonna slowly obviously die out over the next year. There's gonna need to be some income for the Danmachi franchise, and of course the production committee is gonna see this and be like, yeah, it's fine. It also depends on the JP community more so than us, right? I think global might shut down early. I don't know about that, to be quite honest. We'll have to wait and see on that front. No, but that being said, though, I say that, but like if you look at Danmimo, for example, right? Danmimo was barely making money on the global version of the games. Like I think the EU version was making like $10,000 at most. and so was I think it was the KR version of the game. So those two versions were making like 10,000. I think Hong Kong, Taiwan, and US were making like 100,000 each. So basically, total we were making about 200,000 on NA. But JP was making like $600,000-$700,000 a month basically. So the JP version of that game was carrying basically the global version. So it again depends on if they want to do the same as WFS, where they don't mind the JP version carrying the global version, because I do believe that is going to be a significant problem where the global version will probably slowly lose a lot of players, and therefore the income also loses out massively, right?
Yeah.
And that'll obviously be a big problem for them. But as long as it, doesn't affect their profit margins too much, I don't see a reason why they remove it. It's still a revenue stream, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I was gonna say, it depends on the next Danmachi gacha game, because if that does well, it's a good chance that they could just let this go and let Danmimo survive, just living on its last limbs, making a little bit of money there, of course, right? Because they're still releasing new units in that game. It's just that there's no new story. They're doing PvP still. They're doing familiar events, and they're doing some campaigns here and there. But new units are also still coming. It's just that there's no new voiced story or no new tales. They're just rerunning the anniversary events and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it depends. It just depends on the next Danmachi gacha game, because I think that this game can still go on for a while, as long as if they make the changes as well. Of course, it depends on that. If they don't make any changes, we'll see. But I think it'll still go on. I don't see it just shutting down like that immediately, because I do feel like, I mean, if you look at the revenue this month, right, from the JP side, I mean, let me just pull it up. I think last I saw it was like $2.3 million. I mean, the JP side is still making them money. Like, a lot of people may say like, oh, it's not good enough. Look at Genshin and stuff, but Genshin's an anomaly. They're making like
Genshin,
40 million. Yeah, Genshin's Genshin, and so many other gacha games like Arknights, Azure Lane, Heaven Burns Red, and stuff. Them making 2.5 million per month is a lot better than a lot of gacha games, like a lot of gacha games. So realistically, yeah, right now it's 2.4 million. So like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. As long as they're making that money every single month, and as long as people are still investing, there's no reason for them to worry. They'll still keep pushing the game. Yeah, it just depends on the money. At the end of the day, that's what these games are. A lot of people say like, oh, it's a cash grab, but that's every gacha game. I'm sorry, but that's just the gacha game in a nutshell. Some gacha games are less obvious with the cash grab. Some gacha games are more obvious. You just have to deal with it. I'm sorry, but that's just the reality of things. Yeah. And especially when it comes to PvP gacha games. Sorry, I just want to make this a point. When it comes to PvP gacha games, it's always going to be more obvious because you're going up against and competing against other players. If you look at a game like Genshin, it's less noticeable because you don't do PvP, but people are still spending on that game. Bro, anybody can clear Spiral Abyss 36 star in that game with like units from the first year, but like people are still summoning on that game because it's like they want to, and that's just the main thing here as well. People will want to be on top in this game, so they will spend for the best units in the game.
It's the same thing with Honkai Star Rail, bro.
Exactly.
Like, oh my god, like you don't even need to you could literally download Honkai Star Rail, never click on the summon tab, and you know, still get through all the story content, still be able to participate in all the events, and you wouldn't like, there doesn't even need to be a summon system in the game in Honkai Star Rail for you to clear everything. But you know, people still be spending, I think it's like $1,500 to max out the light cone, to E6 a unit. It's like, bro, why are you even getting a unit to E6? It doesn't, like, it just makes the story even easier than it already is.
So just for me personally, right, this concept of Battle Chronicle being a cash grab, you can say it's more of a cash grab, but that's just what you're saying. Calling it a cash grab is you're defining every gacha game on the planet, basically. Yeah, you're describing a business. You're describing a business. I mean, that's just pretty much it. So I get where people are coming from when they say cash grab, but like, you can say they're greedy more so. I think that's the better way to put it, to be quite honest, which is true, arguably.
And hey, I've seen worse. Like, there's games out there like Street Fighter Duel, Street Fighter Duel. Oh my god, let's not even talk about that game, bro.
Oh my god, I was gonna mention a lot of people were saying like, oh, once Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis drops, I'll drop this game. And obviously, there's the new Atelier Gacha game that's come out as well, right? Apparently, on the Atelier Gacha game, I mean, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis has its own issues, which a lot of people are now realizing, and a lot of people have already quit the game from what I've seen. So
Yeah.
again, Japanese gacha games, what do you know? Like, it's one in a million that'll be actually good, to be quite honest. But the Atelier gacha game, apparently, one multi in that game is 6,000 yen, which is $40.
Whoa.
In this game, the same amount gives you actually two multis. So, like, if this is bad, imagine that game. So it's I hate to compare gacha games because we shouldn't be doing that. We should focus on our gacha game and the problems with our gacha game. Yeah. But what I'm trying to come at is that we don't have it as bad as some other gacha games do. Yes, we have a lot of issues. Don't get me wrong, right? We definitely do have a lot of issues, but there are gacha games that are far, far, far worse than what we have. Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm rating it as a 4, because I do believe we have a good game in our hands. There is ways to improve it. There is, if they were to work on it, it wouldn't be a problem. It's just a question of if they will work on it, which is a completely different point.
Yeah, like I said, like there are worse games out there with even worse issues that are even like they claim to be like, if people think this game's a cash grab, they need to download Street Fighter Duel and try that game out. I had a massive history with that game on my channel.
Oh man, yeah, no. I tried the game for like a week or two, and then that what was the first who was the first unit? Was it the Dark Ryu or something? I don't remember who it was.
The first, you mean the
one that the rarity changed? Yeah, the one that changed the rarity, and you had to get the different.
I think it was it Monster Hunter Ken?
Yeah, it was Monster Hunter Ken. That's the one. I quit after that one because I was like, never mind on that one. Yeah. I cannot do this one. That is just not it.
Ever since that, let me just let you know now. Right now, it's like 100 times worse. It's gotten 100 times worse. God. They've added more systems to pay for, vehicle system where you get for bonus stats. Like, it's so bad. But like there are like guys, if you think this game's bad, like there are worse out there. The game still deserves a chance. And before we head out there, I have one more question, or just to see your thoughts. So, if you could get a collaboration right now for Danmachi Battle Chronicles, what anime or what other game title would you want to see a collab with?
I mean, the obvious option, and I'm saying this as an obvious option, as in like based on Omori Sensei, the author of Danmachi and everything as well. I think the direct collaboration would probably the most obvious one would probably be Data Live Season 5 whenever that comes out, right? Yeah. I think it'll be the one that'll that'll happen most likely, because even in Danmimo, Data Live had its collaboration 3 times, I think. Yeah, it was 3 times. So I think it's very likely that Data Live will probably happen, because the authors are good friends and everything, from what I know. Yeah. And as a result, it's a lot more easier to get that collaboration happening. The other option I would probably say, and I think a fun option, would probably just be Konosuba, to be quite honest, and or SAO. It would be one of those two probably as the alternatives, I would say. Both are very popular and they'll get a lot of eyes onto the game as well.
Yeah. For me, realistically, what I think we could get is Persona 5, because every single gacha game of all time gets a Persona 5 collab.
That is true.
It's just the way
recently, it is. That's been very common. Yes. Yeah,
but what my dream collab for this game would be a Bleach collab, just for the mere fact that this game gives me heavy Bleach Brave Soul vibes.
Yeah, I mean,
vibes.
K-Lab did help with the development, so it makes sense. Yeah. They're the publishers of and developers of Bleach Brave Souls. Yeah, that would make sense as well.
Yeah. So it was nice. It was nice having you on, man, to discuss these things, because now I think the game's in a very sensitive period right now, where we're 1 month in, people are already starting to see. Obviously, every game gets a drop off after like the first month. People drop off.
Like I said, it's a honeymoon phase right now. So
100%. It was nice having you on, man, to talk things out.
And, it was great. It was great. It was absolutely fun, for sure.
So, hopefully, you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. I'll also link Gale Wright's channel in the description. Be sure to check him out. You're hella consistent with those streams, bro. You're hella consistent. Check him out, guys. He's a really good content creator. So yeah, take care and peace.
This is Escanor, the Lion Sin of Pride from 7 Deadly Sins. Thank you for watching the pinnacle of gacha gaming on YouTube. The One.